Today, Tractate Pesachim, page 94, we have a very different discussion in regards to astrology, checking distances, and more. There is a interesting Talmudic text in Tractate Chagiga, page 13, that tells us that yes, our sages have the tremendous amount of knowledge, way above average person, in regards to astrology, astronomy, and geographic matters. Yet, for many reasons, they did not disturb it, didn't put it together for public. It was a selected sages that have not only the capability but also the knowledge to deal with those matters. Since soon you see it's part of the discussion, we're going to deal first and foremost with the pshat, meaning the literal understanding, but also we have to bear in our minds 2 points. One, it's a Talmudic times, and for sure we're not having the 2013, the advanced technology we have today, but also we have to realize, as the pag-aaral tells us, that it's a lot of esoteric part in the writings, and also there is a lot of concealing information that did not wish to put in the Talmudic text itself. With that in mind, let's go first to the completion of the sugya of the subject we discussed yesterday. So we are in Tzadik Dalet, page 94, Tanu Rabbanan, 5 lines from the top of the page. The Gemarrah here have a discussion with about someone who is in a far distance. Tanu Rabbanan, Haya omed chutz lamodi'im, ויכול להיכנס בסוסים ובפרדים. If someone was standing in the afternoon outside of the Modi'im. So we explained yesterday that it was a distance between Yerushalayim to the city of Modi'im, which many hold that it's not the Modi'in with Nun today, but anyway, it was in the afternoon of 14th day of month of Nisan. And he can use, in those days they use horses, they use different donkeys, so if he ride fast, he can reach the temple courtyard on time. So he said, Yachol yeheh chayav, because he maybe did not fulfill the mitzvah of Korban Pesach, of Paschal Lamb, on time. Talmud lomar, the Torah tells us the opposite. In the book of Bamidbar, chapter 9, והאיש אשר היה, etc., ובדרך לא היה, it was not in the far distance, which means that only if someone was not in a far distance deserved karet. Vehala, but this person, haya bederech, he was in a far distance, and therefore he is exempt from the liability of receiving the punishment of karet. However, haya omed lifnim min hamodi'in, if he was before that location, כל מודיעים, ואין יכול להיכנס מפני גמלים וקרונות המעכבים אותו. He wanted, Rashi said, to bring his children, the grandson, but he cannot go there because there are camels and all kind of trailers that avoiding him from doing it. יכול לא יהא חייב, he may not receive karet punishment. Talmud lomar, the Torah teaches us, ובדרך לא היה, והרי לא היה בדרך. So the Torah tells us the opposite, that this person was not in a far distance, and therefore he did not fulfill the mitzvah of Pesach, and therefore he received karet. We are not exempting from a situation that it was beyond his ability, Rashi said, because he need to leave his house members and go alone to partake of the Paschal lamb. So, so far, with that in mind, we wrap up the idea of the distance. But the next step, as we said, even the sages have great understanding of the manner of creation. They keep it in secret. Maharal tells us that even the sages many times reveal to us astronomical, astrological, nature matters. There is a esoteric, spiritual aspect for that manners. Is a book called Be'er Hagula. The Maharal wrote it, and he explained all these manners that relate to science. Now, the idea of seeing the heaven and earth, we go here with the manners how we, meaning people, in an anthropomorphic way, understand heaven, which means the measurement that we take from not for person who is there, but for person who is here. So basically, we hold that the earth is flat. That's one point of departure. The earth is flat, and since the earth is flat, and we go by the idea of it's above the ocean. So we have the ocean, the underneath, and the earth, and we have at the top of the earth. Maharal disagree with that. He said, you cannot tell me that the earth is flat. It has to be kaduri, which means it has to be like a large ball. And therefore he goes to the interpretation, as we said, that it's not a physical interpretation, but the whole sugya that we're going to study, is a code, it's a secret beyond the words. Anyway, Amar Rabba, Shita alfei parsei, have alma, which means if you take the entire world, it is a size of 6,000 parsaot, which means that he explained here that parsaot, we have a disputation between Rabbi Chaim Naeh and Chazon Ish, which is more contemporary. Rabbi Chaim Naeh said that this is 23 and 40 kilometers, and Rabbi Chaim Naeh and Chazon Ish said that it is 27 648 kilometers. So he said the sumcha derakia, and the thickness of the firmament, alfei parsei, it's 1,000 parsaot. So one of these measurements with regard to the side of the world is tradition, chada, Gemarrah. One is the way that we understand. Chazon Ish hold that the whole concept of ovi arakia, it's just a language to express the time of the twilight, after you don't see the sun anymore. But the Malbim in the book called Artzot HaChaim have a very different avenue. Anyway, Chada Gemarrah, one is the tradition, V'chada svara, and the other measurement, which means that the thickness of this wheel of the firmament is 1,000 parsaot. So he derived it from his own rational reasoning. Savar lakiha, Rabba hold in the following manner: the Amar Rabba Barba Bar Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kama mahalach adam beinoni bayom. what is the distance of an average person walk in a day, meaning one can walk in a different way. He said 10 parsaot. 10 parsaot, 10 parsaot, which are 40 mil. Me'alot hashachar, from dawn, when he leave to his journey, ve'ad hanetzach, until sunrise, one can walk a distance of what? 5 milin, 5 mil. משקיעת החמה ועד צאת הכוכבים, from sunset until emerges of the stars. When he stop, he is walking overnight, he can go another 5 milim, another 5 mil, which means that there are 30 milim that he can walk from the dawn until the sun set. And if we take this measurement, meaning that the time from the sunset until the sunrise to the sunset, it's the measurement of 13 milim. So it's basically the relation from 1 to 6. That's the relation between the time that the sun goes around from the sunrise until it's set, and the time that the sun, the distance that it's go within the thickness of the firmament. Nimtza, you come to conclusion, therefore, אוביו של רקיע אחד משישה ביום, that the thickness of the firmament is 1/6 of the distance that the sun travels during the day, which is, according to Rava, the 40 milim that average person walk in an average day, divided as follows: from the time of the sunset until the sunrise is 5 milim. From the sunrise to from the sunrise, from the dawn until the sunrise is 5 milim. From the sunrise until the sunset is 30 milim. From the sunset until total, the time of the rising the stars, another 5 milim, which means the measurement of going 1 mil, and we have here a statistician, mathematician that will tell you if it's correct or not, with the assumption that the time between the sunrise to the time of the shkia, the sunset, it's 12 hours, which is, if you measure the time of average person, it's 24 minutes. So it means at the time that the average person walk 5 milim in a regular manners, the sun go 1,000 mil in the thickness of the firmament, and when the time the person go at 30 milim here, the sun goes 6,000 milim in the firmament, in the measurement of 1 to 6. So that's basically match this idea of Rava, match the idea of Ula, by the idea that the average person go at the middle of the day up to the sunset, which is half of the day, 6 hours. These are basically 15 milim. And as we said again, we just go in the simple, literal understanding of this sugya. Now the Gemarrah challenged what Rava said. Meitive, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, אוביו של רקיע אחד מ10 ביום. He said that the thickness of the firmament is only 1/10 of the distance that the sun travels during the day. Teida, we can approve from this point, כמה מהלך אדם בינוני ביום? What is the distance of average person in a day, 10 parsaot, 10 parsaot, which are 40 meal. ומעלות השער הנצח אמר 4 מילים. So it's from the sunrise to, from the dawn to the sunrise, it's 4 milim, which are 1 parsa. ומשקיעת החמה ועד צאת הכוכבים, from the time that the sun about to set until you see the stars, 4 milim, it can go 4, which means that 1/10 נמצאת עוביו של רקיע 1 מ10 ביום. So you found that the thickness of the firmament is only 1/10 of the distance that the sun travels during the day, which means that it's 14 milim. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, the 40 milim that average person walk during the day, divided from the dawn to the sunset, there are 4. Remember the previous, according to Rabbi, there are 5. Here he said that there are 4. From the sunrise until the sunset, it's 32 milim. From the time of the sunset until you see the stars, it's 4. Which means that the average person between the sunrise until the Shkia, it's 12 hours, which is 22.5 minutes. Which means that the time of the twilight in the evening time or in the morning time, regardless, it's about 4 by 32, which is 1/8 in the time between the sunrise until the sunset. So therefore, the thickness of the firmaments is 1/8 from the way that you go around the suns from the sunrise until it set, and therefore this brighter contradicted what Rava and Ula said before, that they said it's 1/6, not 1/8. Now, we have to remember that the measurement here it's different, because according to Rava and Ula, that there are 30 milim in 12 hours, so basically each meal is 1/30 from the 12 hours or 24 minutes. But according to this Braita, is the 32 milim from the sunrise until the sunset. So 1 meal is 1 by 32 from the 12 hours, which is 22.5. We have here beautiful Rashi and Rabbeinu Hananel. So that's the avenues that they taking. The Gra in Orach Chaim Taf Nun Tet 459 explain according to Yerushalmi and the Rambam that 4 milim is 1/10 from the time of the sunrise until the sunset, but not from the dawn until you see the stars, which means that when Rabbi Yehuda said that the thickness of the firmament, 1/10 is applied to during the day, the day it's the time when you see really the sun on the earth, but not the time that you have net light of the earth. So you see that 1 meal it's 140 from 12 hours. But anyway, the Gemarrah concluded, Tiyuvta de Rava, Tiyuvta de Ula. So he said, in that sense, you have a refutation of the word of Rava, and you have a refutation of all the Ula, who hold that an average person can walk 15 meal in a half a day, whereas Rabbi Yehuda hold that the average person can hold 16 meal in a half a day. And the Gemara concluded, Tiyuvta, the conclusive refutation, which means when, remember we said the rules, when you use the word twice, like Tiyuvta twice, it means it's a conclusive refutation. So the Gemara asks, Lema teheve Tiyuvta de Rabbi Yochanan. May said that even the word of Rabbi Yochanan can be conclusive refutation. So Rashi tells us here that in his explanation that he used the word klomar, and I explain it in my book that this challenge can go not only to Rabbi and Ula, can go also to Rabbi Yochanan. We don't have the time, but I have it, a full explanation in my book. Amar lach, Rabbi Yochanan respond, Ana bimama ude amri. What I said, I apply to an average person that walk 40 milin during the day, which means regardless between the sunrise to the sunset, which means that the Tanaim in a bright I explained, V'Rabbanan hu dekatau. But the sages, Ula and Rava, had the mistake in interpreting my opinion by saying that one can walk 5 mil and not 4 during the intermediate period. Dekachashvan dekadma v'chashocha. Because they calculated 5 mil before sunrise and after sunset, they included the distance walk by people who set out earlier in the morning before dawn, and by those who continued walking after nightfall. Leima tehevet yuvta de Rabbi Chanina. Do we say that the word of Rabbi Chanina that said that, you remember yesterday we said a distance between Sdom to Tzoar, that Lot walk from the dawn until the sunrise is 5 milin? He said, Lo, you cannot say it, because remember when we talk about the Malachim with Lot in Bereshit chapter 19, the Torah used the word Vaya Itzu, they hasten. So since they hasten, it's different, because it's clear that when a person is in a rush, so it can go much larger distance. So what we concluded so far, the time of the tzet, the time of the morning, the time of the tzet HaKochavim, you see the sunset, is 4 milin after the shkia, after the dawn, and since the tzet is defined by halacha, the beginning of the night, they have a lot of practical manners. Anyone can tell me what is a practical manner for these discussions? An example, the time of defining the tzet HaShabbat, when is the Shabbat is over. So if you tell me that it's only 3/4 of a meal between the shkia to the time of tzet, so it's contradicted this Gemarrah, because here they say that it's 4 milin from the shkia up to the tzet. So you have 2 different avenues here. You have one avenue that said that the time of the sun set, or meaning the time you see the stars, is different. The Gemarrah in Shabbat speaks about average 3 stars. That's the tzet. The second one is said that there are 2 times of sunset. And since we're here talking about the thickness of the firmament, so we talk about the time that you see the sun disappear from the horizon and come in the thickness of the firmament. The Gemarrah in Shabbat speaking about the sunset that happened 3¼ milin from the first shkia. Now, do you have in your mind how this has a practical halachot? One of them, which is crucial, is the time of defining, as the Taz tells us, of baby that was born in the twilight, and you need to measure the time of the brit if you allow to do it on Shabbat, which involved with a lot of question of violation of Shabbat or not. So the way that you measure the stars is part of that discussion. Tashma. Now we come and see a proof against what Rava said from the following Braita. The land of Egypt, Mitzrayim hi 400 parsa al 400 parsa. The land of Egypt was 400 parsaot, as we said, that's the measurement at that time, by 400 פרסאות. ומצרים, 1 מ-60 בחוש. So it means that Egypt, since you tell me that it's 400 by 400 is 160,000 parsa, 60 shkush was 60 times largest, which means that they have 9,600,000 parsaot. That's the way that the Nodab Yehuda explained, which means when you use the term Kush, for example, in the book of Esther, it's a distance of 2,400 days, which is 24,000 parsaot, which is about 6 years and 210 days. That's the measurement of Nodab Yehuda. So anyway, so you go Vechush echad mishishim ba'olam. Again, this is the ancient measurement. It says Kush is 160 of the world. Ve'olam echad mishishim bagan. And the world is 160 of the Garden of Eden. Vegan echad mishishim be'eden. Which means that's basically the Gemarrah in Brachot 34b, that the Garden of Eden is not the Eden itself. Ve'eden echad mishishim be'geinom, which means which called the hell, the Geinom, it's Eden is one of the 60 of that. נמצא כל העולם כולו ככיסוי קדרה לגיהינום, which means that the entire world is like a pot cover, which is a small part of the total size of the pot, compared to a Gehinom, which means that it's the whole world compared to Gehinom is very little. So it means, according to this measurement, the world is 3,600 larger in a time of measurement, which is 60 by 60 from the Egypt, which is 6,000 parsa. So it means the time that you go around the sun, if you measure the firmament, is much larger. So the Tzlach tells us, since you go in the assumption that the world is larger than Egypt by 3,600 parsaot, which means that the measurement of the world is a 576 million parsaot. So if you tell me that the world is square, which they disagree, it means that the world is larger than Egypt by 3,600 in their measurement. So as we said, is a big disputation how you take the whole concept of the world, but basically that's a very strong conclusive refutation to what Rava said. Tashma. So again, I keep saying that that's the pshat. We do not go today by the Maharal that tells us that this is esoteric. We go just by the way it's written. Tashma de Tana de Eliyahu. We learn by the school of Eliyahu, and Be'er Sheva is a book called Be'er Sheva on the Tractate Sanhedrin, page 92a. He said that it's not the Eliyahu Hanavi, but it's the name of the Tana that's called Eliyahu. However, Rabbi Chaim David Azulai, the Chida, in his famous book Shem HaGdolim, he said that Tana de Eliyahu is collection of Braito that Eliyahu Hanavi taught to the Amora named Rav Anan, but again, it's a two different school of understanding. It says Rabbi Natan Omer, Kol HaYishuv Kulo, the entire world that occupied, inhabited by people, Tachat Kochav Echad Yoshev. They're all in the sense that if you measure the entire world is the same size as one star. Teida, we derive from that, שהרי אדם נותן עינו בכוכב אחד, that a person put his eye on one star, הולך למזרח, he goes to the east, עומד כנגדו, the stars stand there in that place. לארבע רוחות העולם, when he goes to all the other four corners of the world, עומד כנגדו, the star stand there. מכלל, we derive from that, דכל היישוב כולו תחת כוכב אחד יושב. We derive from that that the entire world, the entire settlement of the world rests under one star, which means that in a sense of comparison of size. So since so many stars are viable and each one covers the area of the world comparable to the size of the entire settled portion of the world, it must be that the world is larger than 6,000 parsaot. So the Gemarrah comment that this is indeed tiyuvta, conclusive refutation of Rava's opinion. So he said, Tashma. We have now the third refutation in regards to what Rava said, that the Mahalach HaShemesh, the time that the sun goes during the day, it's only 6,000 parsaot. Tashma. Now we go a little bit in the sense of astrology. Egla, so he said that Egla, it's like Ursa. It's the what we call the ox, if you go by this measurement. That's Batzafon. It stands in the north. Ve'akrav, and the constellation of Scorpio. Badarom, it's in the south. V'chol hayishuv kulo, and the entire settlement site. Eino yoshev ela, it's settled only between Bein Egla le'akrav, between the Ursa Major and Scorpio. So basically the relative portions of these two constellations appear to be the same from any location in the settled area of the world. וכל היישוב כולו אינו הווה אלא שעה אחת ביום. And the entire world, the entire settlement to the world as a whole is comparable to what? To only 1 hour of the day. That means that the time of the sun go when it's circle around the entire universe. שכן, אין חמה נכנסת ליישוב, that the sun enter into the sky, it's not go in a straight line, אלא שעה אחת ביום, only 1 hour a day. תדע, you derive from that, שבחמש, which means that the 5th hour into the day, חמה במזרח, the sun, you can see it in every place in the east part. ובשבע, and the 7th hour, חמה במערב, you see the sun in the west, which means if you look, the best measurement is if you look the shade of yourself, חצי שש וחצי שבע, half a 6 hour and half of the 7th hour, which means between at the time of the 6 hours until the time of the middle of the 7 hours, which means a half hour before Chatzot and up to the half hour after middle of the day, חמה עומדת בראש כל אדם, which means the sun is positioned on the top of everyone, which means that that's basically the middle of the day. The sky is in every inhabited area during the time, so which means that the sun travels over the inhabited part of the world in a single hour, while the rest of the day it travels over uninhabited part. So you derive from that that the entire settled portion of the world is equal to 1/12 of the world. So tiyuvta. So that's basically a refutation, the third refutation, as conclusive refutation of what Rava said, that it's only 6,000 parsaot. So now we go to the fourth one. The fourth one, again, it's a refutation to what Rava said. Tashma, Da'amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ben Zakkai, Ma tshuva heshivato bat kol. What the responded, the divine voice answered to who? Le'oto Rasha, Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king that was evil, that the one who was responsible for destruction of temple. So he has this heavenly voice that talked to him. So there are several opinions. There is one that is speak about the echo. That's what Rabbeinu Saadia Gaon said on the Otzar Geoni in Sanhedrin 11. He said that that's applied to some a echo. Others said that Tosfot Rosh said that it's come in a very clear measure, but is like the daughter to the mother, is just the size of anthropomorphic measurement. So he said that voice said to Nebuchadnezzar, B'sha'a she'amar, this is a quote from Isaiah chapter 14, Le al bamotei av, adame le'elyon. He said to himself, he was so much with his ego of himself, he said, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. What does that mean? Yatzta bat kol ve'amra lo, a divine voice emerged and said to Nebuchadnezzar, Rasha ben Rasha, a wicked person, son of a wicked man. צדיק ד' עמוד ב', בן בנו של נמרוד הרשע, son or disciple in the corruption of Nimrod. So Rashi said לאו דווקא בן בנו, אלא כלומר מזרע נמרוד. So again, I explain it in my book that it's not speaking in a sense of direct descendants, but speak about manner of behavior, the same pattern. That the Tosfot, by the way, in Chagiga 13, said that Nebuchadnezzar was totally not a descendant of Nimrod, but it's only by his manners. So he said, Kama shnotav shel adam. What's the average person? You remember that statement in Tehillim, we said, Tehillim, Psalm number 90, 70 שנה ואם בגבורות שמונים שנה, שנאמר, ימי שנותינו בהם 70 שנה, our lifespan is 70 years, ואם בגבורות, if we reach this level of graciousness of Hashem, so we reach 80 שנה, 8 years. So Tosfot said in Chagiga that according to the Gemarrah in Sanhedrin 96, Nimrod lived more than 8 years of life. But here we go by the average person, like the insurance company, they go, when they give you a life policy, they go by the measurement of statistics of average person lifespan. So they said, Mina Aretz ad larakia, from the earth up to the firmament, which is the lowest firmament, Ma'alach 500 shana. It's a distance of 500 years. And he said, Ve'ovyo shel rakia, Ma'alach 500 shana. And also the thickness of the firmament is a distance of 500 years. ובין רקיע לרקיע מהלך 500 שנה, and between each firmament is another walking distance of 500 years. וכן בין כל רקיע ורקיע, and it's applied to each and every one of these firmament. Is Gemarrah in Chagiga, page 12b, that said that there are 7 firmaments. So it means that you have 15 times 500 years, 7 firmaments, 6 a hole between each firmament, and 500 years in that measurement between the earth to the lowest level of the firmament, and it's another distance between that spot to the highest, which is another 500 years, until they reach the highest one. That's basically the Tosfot there. So they said, we derive from that Nebuchadnezzar was so full of himself that he said, Ach el Sheol turad el yarketei vo. So you shall, the response is, yet you shall be brought down to the lower world, to the uttermost part of the pit. So this is basically a total tuvta, conclusive refutation, because again the distance between the earth to the firmament is, in that measurement of years, is about 500 years. And since the distance, the length of the land is the same distance between the land to the firmament, the lower firmament, which means that the length of the walking distance of the land of the earth is 500 years. So it means that average person go by the 10 parsaot during the day, which means that the length of the land is approximately 1,825,000 parsaot, with the assumption that we have 365 days a year. And that's basically contradicted what Rava said, that the distance of the suns is only 6,000 parsaot, and the length of the earth is even smaller than that. That's basically the pshat. I keep saying that's the literal understanding, going by the Rashi, and the Rashash have a different malach, but tuvta. So this is basically the fourth time that we have a conclusive refutation of the Rava. So now we go to another avenue, which is two disputations between the sages and the scholars of the world, the non-Jewish scholar that involved with astronomy and astrology. Tanu Rabbanan, the sages teach us, Chachmei Yisrael, our Jewish sages, Omrim, Galgal Kavua Umazalot Chozrim. They hold that the celestial sphere of the zodiac is stationary, and the consultations involved in their place within the sphere, which means that it's go and circle around and return to that spot. וחכמי אומות העולם אומרים גלגל חוזר ומזלות קבועים. And the sages of the nation of the world say that the entire celestial sphere revolves, and the consultations are stationary within the sphere. So we derive from that, again, those of you who have Gemarrah with interpretations, you see all these different you see it in different pictures and different things, and they show you all the mazalot. Anyway, אמר רבי, תשובה לדבריהם, מעולם לא מצינו עגלה בדרום ועקרב בצפון. This is respond, again, it was a disputation between these two group of sages, the non-Jews and the Jews, and he said, this is respond to them that said that the Ursa Major in the south and Scorpio in the north. So it indicates that it is the stars themselves that revolve in place and not the celestial sphere as a whole, because otherwise it will be impossible for Ursa Major to remain in the north and Scorpio to remain in the south. Matkif la Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Rav Acha bar Yaakov challenged that, and he said, "V'dilma bevutzina dereicha." Maybe within the sphere, like the steel socket of the mill, which remains stationary in the stones of the mirror revolve around it. So, iname ketzinora de dasha, or it's like a pivot of the door, which remains stationary while the door makes wide turn around. So he said, Chachmei Israel, Bayom, the Jewish sages say that during the day the sun Chama me'alechet lemata min harakia. The sun travels beneath the firmament, and therefore it's visible. Uvalayla, and in night it travels lemala min harakia, above the firmament. Vechachmei umot ha'olam אומרים, and the sages of the other nations hold, Chama me'alechet lemata min harakia. They said the sun travels beneath the firmament, ubalayla lemata min harakia, and at night it travels beneath the earth and around to the other side of the world. Amar Rabbi, so Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, v'nir'im divrehem midvareinu, and the statement of the sages of the nations of the world appears to be more accurate than our statement. So there is a disputation among the rabbis what Rabbi meant. Is Rav Shira Gaon and Rav Hai Gaon. So some say that it's affirmation of what the other nations hold, but others said no. He said, since we don't have a clear conclusion, it's appear at this point. In other words, you need to bring more proof to prove our rights. Why? Shebayom ma'ayanot tzonenin ubalayla rotchim. Because if you go the way that the springs, so the springs during the day they are deep in the ground and cold, but at night they are hot compared to the air temperature, which support the theory that these springs are warm by the sun as it travels beneath the earth. Tanya Rabbi Natan Omer, בימות החמה, in the summertime, חמה מהלכת בגובה הרקיע, the sun travels higher the sky, which is above the earth, and ולפיכך, and therefore כל העולם כולו רותח, the whole world is hot, ומעיינות צוננים, and the spring are cold, בימות הגשמים, which is the winter time, חמה מהלכת בשיפולי רקיע, the sun goes in the travel low in the sky, and he said לפיכך, and therefore כל העולם כולו צונן, the whole world is cold, ומעיינות, the spring are hot, because the water of the מעיינות of the spring come to the top of the earth, so it's close to the sun, and that's warm up the מעיינות. תנו רבנן, בארבעה שבילים חמה מהלכת. In 4 different avenues the sun goes. Said during the year, in the springtime, Nisan, Iyar וסיוון מהלכת בהרים כדי לפשר את השלגים. So here you show how greatness is Hashem, that he in our language, כביכול, he makes sure that the sun travels in 4 paths during the 4 seasons of the year, and each causes a unique weather pattern. During the month of Nisan, Iyar v'Sivan, it's in a mountain, in order to melt the snows that collected during the winter. Tammuz, Av ve'Elul, during the month of Tammuz, Av and Elul, mehalechet ba'yishuv, it's travel over the areas of the settlements. Why? Kedei levashel haperot, in order to ripen the produce. And now in the fall time, Tishrei, Mar Cheshvan v'Chislev mehalechet bayamim. In those 3 months, he traveled over the seas in order to dry the rivers, as the river flow more gently during the time of the year that the water turns into rain clouds. And he said, Tevet, Shvat ve'Adar mehalechet bamidbar shelo liyabesh et hazra'im. But the months, Tevet, Shvat, and Adar, travel over the desert in order not to dry the seeds that were planted in the inhabited area of the settlement, will begin to sprout during this time. Now we go back to the Mishnah. What we said in the Mishnah, ורבי אליעזר אומר, מאסקופת האזהרה ולחוץ נחשב, so it means that from that courtyard and outside, it's considering part of the courtyard. So he said, he derived that by comparing to the second tie. So the Gemarrah asks, is that really possible that Rabbi Eliezer hold that even someone who's close in a sense of proximity to the Beit HaMikdash, he is basically rejected from bringing the Paschal lamb and also exempt from the liability of correct punishment? Ve'af al gav dematzei ayel, that even a person have the opportunity to enter to Azara, to the courtyard, if we wish to, ve'lo amrinan lei, and we do not say to him, kum ayel, come and urge to bring the Korban Pesach, otherwise you receive correct. Ve'hatanya arel shelo mal, if you have a fellow Jew that was uncircumcised, and you know that the Torah said that that's part of the condition to bring the Paschal lamb, person needs to be circumcised. Anush karet, he deserved a karet punishment, divrei Rabbi Eliezer. So it means even a real uncircumcised person that he is disqualified from bringing the Korban Pesach, he is still liable. Amar Abaye, derech rechoka latahor ven derech rechoka latameh. A distant journey applies solely for the pure person, the ritual purity, that he is in a distance from the Beit HaMikdash, from the temple, and that's the distance not applied to someone who's ritually impure. So another option, Rava Amar Tanaihi, it's a disputation between the Tanaim. The Tanya, we learn in the Braita and Tosefta, chapter 8. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Ne'emar Richuk Makom B'Pesach, Ve'ne'emar Richuk Makom B'Maaser. We're now going to juxtapose two different points from two different subjects. One speak about distance that the Torah refer in regard to Pesach, and the other one is a distance the Torah refer in regard to tithe, second tithe. Ma lehalan chutz la'achilato, afkan chutz la'achilato. Since one applied to a place outside of Yerushalayim that you can eat, so the same here apply to the outside, located outside of the place in which it may be eaten, and which is the entire city of Yerushalayim. So according to this opinion, anyone located in Yerushalayim is included in the obligation to offer a Paschal lamb. Now, Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mishum Rabbi Eliezer, he hold, Chutz la'asiyato. He said that the exemption of the distant journey applied to anyone located outside the area where offering of the Paschal lamb may be performed, which is basically the temple courtyard, the Azara, Keman Azla. Which one is match the other? The Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef said, Bat me'im, when you measure the amount of people who have ritual impurity in regard to bringing a Paschal lamb. So you remember, if most of the people are ritually impure, it's still not a reason to postpone it for the 14th of Iyar, but the bringing some of the people ritual impure of Korban Pesach at the first time. So he said, Halech achar rov aomdim ba'azara. You go by the majority of the people who stand in temple courtyard, which means we don't take into account only those people who stand inside the courtyard at the time of slaughtering the Paschal lamb. Keman, according to whom this? Ke Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda she'amar mishum Rabbi Eliezer, that he defined a distance in any place outside of the temple courtyard. According to his view, only people who stand in the courtyard, considering people who fulfill the offering of Paschal lamb, and therefore only by them we make a decision if the majority are ritually impure or not. So the Gemarrah continue, the Mishnah continue. Amar lo Rabbi Yossi lefichach. Remember, we studied in the Mishnah that we have this dat on the letter Hey, and we learn from that dat a very important thing, that it's for sure a distance, but only from the courtyard and outside. Tanya, we learn in that Tosefta, Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer, the Torah tells us in the Bamidbar chapter 9, derech rechoka, which means that a person who is in a far away, shomea, I may derive from that, shmalach shnaim or shlosha yamim, that apply to a distance from Beit HaMikdash of 2 to 3 days or 4, כשהוא אומר ובדרך לא היה, when the Torah used the term that it's not and is not on a journey, and does not specify the distance of the journey, we derive from that, magid she'me'eskupat ha'azara velachutz karui derech. So it teaches us that from the threshold of the courtyard and beyond this is called journey. So meaning that the exemption is not limited to one distant journey, as the way that the first verse seems to imply. First, Rambam tells us in Ilchot Korban Pesach chapter 5, the whole idea of derech rechoka, a distance journey. The definition of one who is in a distant journey with regard to a first Pesach is one who is in a distance of at least 15 mil from Yerushalayim at the sunrise on Passover Eve. The halacha is that the way the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Now, he goes further to say that if one is within 15 mil of Yerushalayim on Passover Eve, but does not arrive in time to participate in the Korban Pesach due to all kind of like traffic, or in those days the camel and carriages, is not considering to have been on a distant journey, rather he considered to have been unable to offer the sacrifice due to the circumstances behind his control. We also learn the point of Galgalei HaMazalot, the measurement of the time, daytime and nighttime. We talk about majority of those who stand in a courtyard. So how is the circulation made to determine if the majority of the population is ritually pure or impure with regard to Paschal lamb? The calculation is based, the Rambam said, of those who are standing outside of the courtyard ready to enter. If most of them are ritually impure, the Paschal lamb is offered in a state of ritual impurity. That's the Rambam in Chot Pesach, chapter 7. Now, the last halacha of today is in regard to the whole measurement, which we talk a lot today, measurement between the sun and earth and the firmament and within the firmament. I want to remind you what we said in the introduction, the two avenues. One is the pag-aaral, and the other one is the literal ways. The pag-aaral said that all of that sugya is esoteric, which means that he goes by explaining that the sugya goes in the beyond the literal sense, but we go today just by the Rashi Rabbeinu Hananel al-Rashash, that go just simply just the way that it's written literally. And that measurement of distance, as we said, is a Talmudic time. In that sense is different than we have today in 2013.